Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. Yeah, we got rain, we got cold, we got those things that make old people's bones hurt. Folks, I want to talk about a certain topic, and this might get me a couple of dislikes, but let's go through it anyway. When you buy one of these, or you buy a frame, any of this stuff, how do you know you're not getting something hot? We went through the discussion about removed serial numbers and all this other stuff, and I just did a bunch of research, and I have family members who are lawyers, so I asked them some questions, and their tilt is much more toward New York State, and a bunch of the research I did was toward New York State, but I think some of the general rules will work out. First of all, I just bought that. Let's pretend I didn't. I got it from my buddy Ed Moore. But anyway, let's say I just bought that, and I get it home, and it has no serial number on it. What does that mean? Who's got a problem? According to New York State law, if you're the person that removed the serial number, or if you're a person selling a bike with no serial number, with no VIN number, you could be prosecuted. So, don't remove serial numbers, and don't sell stuff without serial numbers. Now, of course, you could say, I didn't sell him anything. Why are you bothering me? Go away. Right? But once again, if you sell something that has a removed serial number, or if they see you removing a serial number, that is bad news. I also read some stuff that indicates, let's say, I cut the serial number off of this, and I'm walking around with the serial number in my pocket. It's not attached to this anymore. From the reading I did, it looks like that's illegal also. I didn't look into the penalties, right? You know, but just from you're stopped and what somebody's going to bother you about. In addition, I have this bike. Let's say it has no serial. It does, right? This is legal. Ed Moore, we're all cool. But anyway, let's say I have this bike and I have no serial number on it. To ride one of these things anywhere in New York State that's not on private property, you're supposed to have it registered. And the only way you're going to register it is if you have a VIN number. And when you go to register it, if you're trying to register it, even though you don't have title, they'll let you register it. You just have to do a pencil rendering of the VIN number on a piece of paper and go in there and swear that you bought it. And if these things are more than 20 years old, you don't even need a receipt. Or you can write a receipt on a piece of paper and scribble a name, and you're all cool. But do realize they're going to run the VIN number. So if you picked up something that's hot and they run the VIN number, they're going to come back and say, yo, you're sitting on a hot bike there, buddy. And from there, now the stories have to begin. One thing I did run into with my research, it appears as if there's a website, and right under my name, Harvey Spooner there, if you go to this website, right, let me put the whole thing in. And they are the, for those of you who are listening to me and not reading, National Insurance Crime Bureau. It appears as if a bunch of folks got together, and this was to help the salvage industry as well as the resale industry, the legitimate resale industry, and everybody else, because once again, there's a lot of bikes out there that have been out there forever, and nobody wants to be dealing with hot stuff. So what you can do is you can put the numbers in, right? And what I did is I ran the VIN number for this thing, right, the one I bought yesterday, and you can see that VIN number there, I crossed part of it out, has not been identified as a vehicle listed in theft records, and it's updated regularly, and then it's has not been identified as a vehicle listed in VIN check total loss records. So this thing has not been totaled, and this thing has not is not reported stolen. You could also run cars and motorcycles and anything with a VIN number through that to see if your car's been totaled out, like if it was in a bad storm and flooded, like we had down in New York City occasionally. For lower lying areas, they flood, right? Sometimes the vehicle will be totaled and the vehicle will then get moved out of state, and things will be rattled around for a little while, and the next thing you know, it comes back with a fresh title. So theoretically, you can find out, if this thing was drowned and somebody went through the trouble, it could say that it was totaled on the title because it was flooded, or if somebody set it ablaze or whatever, it could be listed as a total loss for that. So the additional research I did also indicated the following. If you go out and buy one of these things, the best thing that could happen is it has a title. The person signs the back of the title and gives it to you. You bring the title and get yourself a new title made out in your name. Very few here in New York I'm really finding that. I'm just not seeing that. Most of these things, the title's lost. Seems that for Pennsylvania and New Jersey, I seem to find more of these offered with title. I almost never see a title offered up in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, some of the other states I fish in. I don't see titles offered, but once again in Pennsylvania I see title offered quite a bit. So they must be a little fussier down there. New Jersey too, I occasionally see a title. Mostly Pennsylvania I see titles offered. So the best thing you can do is get a title, transfer it to your name, and do all the official stuff. Unfortunately, what happens is the first owner has a title. A lot of time they officially sign it over to the second owner, and for whatever reason, the second owner or third owner or fourth owner chucks it over their shoulder, and then the title's gone, right? So that's A. The best thing is a title. The second best thing you could do is get a receipt with a witness to say, or get a notarized receipt saying that you bought this from so-and-so, and you run the VIN number through this, and then you staple this to the receipt like I'm going to do, minus not being crossed out, obviously. You staple it to the receipt, and then at that point, if you want to register it, you bring the receipt, you bring this, and they'll register it. They're not going to give you a title, but they're going to register it. And you could put a plate on it, and you could ride the heck out of it, and it's all cool. So that you could do also. For me, none of this stuff is leaving the property, and if anybody shows up and, says, this is my bike, but it doesn't have a vehicle ID number on it, it's your word against their word. They can't take it from you. It's yours. You possess it, and there might be a million of them stolen, but they can't prove whatever's sitting in your driveway is yours, unless, once again, they got pictures with times and dates, and they could show the exact cracks in the plastic, and if something has a very unique paint job, a one-of-a-kind paint job, and they could show that it's theirs, and a police report that it was stolen yesterday and now it's at your house today, you're going to have a tough time walking away from that. So in those cases, you're probably going to be tagged. But generally speaking, if you buy something, no VIN number, it's yours. But once again, you can't register it, you can't title it. How you gonna put a plate on it? How you gonna write it? Here in New York, they also have something known as a legal transfer. So let's say I get a plate for this guy, right? I do an etching of the number. I run one of these reports. I get a nice receipt from Ed Moore. I bring it in and I register this thing. So now I have a plate, right? And I take that plate and I put it on something else. Well, this thing's known as a three-wheeler. It's known as a 250, and it's known as a 1986. So, unless you're putting that plate on exactly what it should be, right? Like, if I theoretically got a plate for this frame, right, and put it on my 300EX, and for whatever reason hung some lights from this area or whatever, so that's what looked like destroyed the number, it would be pretty hard to prove that the plate wasn't the right plate. Just move, you know, that it wasn't the right VIN number for that frame, and I just messed things up, right? But one best not use a VIN number for the wrong kind of bike and put it on there, because if they go through the trouble of running it, then it's known as an illegal transfer of plates, and you could have trouble. All these things are like very, very legal, but from a practical point of view, you're riding a bike on a trail, and you're either in a state that wants you to have a plate on the bike, a plate and insurance on the bike, or you're in a state that doesn't. If you're in a state that does, and the cop catches you on the trail, and he takes a quick look, and he sees what makes sense, everything is beautiful, right? If he sees something that doesn't make sense, if for some reason he's got a quick internet hookup and he runs the plate number through one of his databases and he sees three-wheelers and it's on a four-wheeler, you're going to have a problem. The other time you're going to have a problem is if you have insurance on your rig. Let's say I put a plate on this thing, I put insurance on it, and I'm happily riding it someplace. It's all really kosher, right? 300EX, license plate, 1986, everything agrees. Now I take the plate off of this and I put it on this guy. God forbid I have a wreck and somebody, or even myself, I make a claim to the insurance, either for liability because I wreck somebody, I run into their bike and damage it, now they're suing me, or I hurt them and they're suing me for pain, suffering, and their injury and all that stuff. Or let's say I have my own injury insurance on it, I'm riding the bike and I get hurt. If the information comes back that, oh yeah, clown flipped over his three-wheeler, the insurance company has people who run the VIN number, and he'll see, wait a minute, 300EX says four wheels, not three. So, you know, be careful with games. One could play games and one can find themselves in trouble. This ends all my discussions about plates and VIN numbers and scratched off VIN numbers and all the other stuff, except for one last comment. Theoretically, if you wipe the VIN number off, you file this off, that VIN number could come back. What one needs to do is you polish it really nice and you hit it with something known as Fry, F-R-Y, solution, and supposedly the numbers will come back. Depending on how good you are at the technique, and given that I don't do this all the time, and you guys probably don't do it all the time, you might be lucky, you might not be. So depending on your technique, the kind of metal, how well it was stamped, on and on and on, the number might come back almost as good as it looks here, or it might just barely be readable, or you might get some numbers but not all of them. And generally speaking, a lot of times these start out like with that JH3TE, And if you know you're looking at a 1986, there's another number you can put in the 10th digit. So if you could kind of fill things in around it, you might get the whole number or most of the number minus a digit or two with that Fry solution. Quick recap. So you're buying these things. Best deal, title. Second best deal, serial number, run it, and get a receipt. You got no number. Well, you better keep it on your property and behave yourself. You got no number and you want to register it. You better go get a new frame. Right? What else could you do? And by the way, run the number on that frame and all, right? You don't want to go from the pot into the fire. All right, folks, I hope this has helped. For people in other states, other countries, feel free to contribute your thoughts. Anybody who's got other websites that are more interesting or helpful, please contribute them. Anybody who's got more experience than doing internet searches, like maybe you really ran into a situation and now you're, direct experience, feel free to share. Most of the time, though, with direct experience, the cases are very, very specific. I bought a bike from my cousin and this, that, and the other thing, and we had a fight, and now I have this problem, right? And, he said, she said stuff comes in and junk like that. So a lot of times your specific experience, though it might be similar, it might not be exact. Once again, you're buying one of these, get the title. If not, get a receipt and run the number. And one last time, that's what you Google. And that's the website right there. Anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. I want you all to keep your feet down, your head up, face out of the buckwheat, and please enjoy all your days. Take care now, folks. Bye.